Well, hello, my friends. Thank you for watching. I hope you watch all the way through. I made a long bike bike and talk video where I went to São Martinho de Porto, and I was talking about a lot of things, as I do when I'm talking to myself, talking to the action cam. And on the way back, I was talking about salesmanship, and I kind of ran out of gas, out of battery. So I wanted to just reiterate. It came up because I'm dealing with comments from people who watched a commentary I did about Brett Weinstein, and nobody cares about what I think about Brett Weinstein or any other famous influencer. But what I was trying to impress upon you is that famous people, whether they're academics, authors, musicians, actors, politicians, they're all good salesmen. Salesmanship is core. It's like a crucial skill that they have to have. And they're very good at it. They're good at persuasion. They're good at rhetoric. They're good at talking to people, connecting with people. They're good at defending themselves. They're good at rationalizations. They're good at all kinds of things that salesmen have to be good at. And if there's one chapter of one book, McKibben wrote a book. He's a climate change guy, 360.org. And it's called Falter. And chapter 20, he talks about salesmanship. In particular, a man in Africa who sells solar lighting systems, electrical systems to people who don't have a grid to plug into. And this gentleman uses the same techniques, tried and true sales techniques that all of us use, who are salesmen, who are salespeople. You have to identify a problem or a solution that your customer might not even know they have. I don't need a solution. I don't have a problem. And then you identify it for them, persuade them that they do indeed have a problem, and then you deal with their objections. I can't afford it. Well, I know a customer of mine who couldn't afford it, but he did this, and it was easy to pay for it, and then he earned back the money by doing this. You don't even have to say, oh, I have an idea how you could afford it, or a payment plan. You could just talk anecdote stories about a customer that you had who figured it out and did great, People tend to default to trust. That's just part of human nature, so they tend to want to believe you, even if they're skeptical. And then the salesman was saying, if they don't buy today, they'll buy tomorrow because it's a really good solution, a good product, and they'll figure it out eventually. And obviously, once the bandwagon gets going, more people see the solar lighting grid system on more people's little houses. More people will see the utility of having it and how much it improves their lives, and they'll all want to buy it, and so on and so forth. Well, any YouTube influencer or intellectual superstar, whether they're academics or not, scientists, historians, entertainers, they're all good salespeople. And they do have a lot of incentives to try to keep their audience, right? And if they've got you watching, you're the product, you're giving your data to YouTube, to Google, or whatever, and you're also giving some money and time and attention to this person on YouTube. And they're already famous, so they're drawing a big crowd because I don't know about, I know the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I don't know any other bands, so they're the best. Most of us can't imagine that there are other biologists in the world that could be smarter than this famous biologist who gets a lot of likes. So we tune in, and then we get emotionally involved, and we think, yeah, they make sense, and we stop looking at other sources of information. So we've been sold. Let's just admit it. And salesmanship is invisible. We don't know we're being sold when we're being sold. So yeah, I'm not saying the person's a con man or anything like that. And they're just doing what they want to do, and they're doing it well. And they have a good product, which is themselves in the marketplace of ideas, and you're buying it. So you don't need to defend these people. They're very good at persuasion and defending themselves. They're good at salesmanship. It's like, oh, OMG, I didn't know you were so smart, man. And then you published a book and it was a bestseller. And then you paid $25,000 and did a TED Talk. And then you got a big audience. And now you must be smart, dude. I didn't know you were that smart. It's like, no, not smart. Wrote a book, did a TED Talk, and got lucky. Of course, OMG didn't do any of these things. It's like, that kind of thing. So once you get traction and you get an audience and you start to sell well, and your career takes off, you're incentivized to keep that thing going, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That's normal. And we are the customer, right? But when it comes to science and certain kinds of information, it's not enough to be excited about the new aliens, information about the aliens or whatever. Some things are more important than that, more life and death, more complex, and so on. So it requires us to do a little bit of work looking at other sources of information and understanding that just because this academic or this virologist or this historian isn't famous doesn't mean that they're not brilliant and that they can't teach you a lot, that you can't learn a lot from them. My university philosophy teacher was a brilliant guy, and I thought he was great, but I grew up and I met a lot of people who were scholars in philosophy. And, I'm still a big fan, and I listen to podcasts, philosophy podcasts, and I still read books, and I still ponder Nietzsche, and, every few years you go back to these sources of information. You realize you've changed, you've learned something, you've grown, you've moved on, you see it in a different light. So you don't necessarily have to be so excited that you just got sold a Mercedes-Benz, and kind of signal that I'm cool because I got a Mercedes-Benz, or I follow this guy and that girl, this platform and that platform, therefore I'm cool. I get excited about things, and then 6 months later, it's like, what the heck? Why was I watching that? And I share it right away. So people are like, oh, OMG's gone off the deep end, man. He's watching some pretty weird stuff now. And then some people would say, he watched that? I'm never going to look at Stephen's Facebook page again. Not gonna happen. Not after he posted that. So, some people have a short fuse, want to stay in their bubble. Some people might notice that people grow and change over time. Joe Rogan is a good salesperson. He really is. He wouldn't have had a career like he has now. He wouldn't have a career like he has now if he wasn't a great salesperson. So he can make lots of mistakes and move on from them. Yeah, I said that. Maybe I was wrong, blah, blah, blah. Move on. But some of the stuff that you just spout off about, if you're in that business, you're in the shock jock business, it can be harmful. I guess I'm a free speech person, but there are limits, I think. And I wish we were all wise individuals who, by some magic, came up with everything we think all by ourselves and always thought wise, intelligent, accurate things. But we don't. We get our information and our thoughts from the zeitgeist, from what we consume, because we're consumers, and what we got sold because we're going to buy stuff. Yeah, I buy that. That'll work. If we only did that, there wouldn't be a problem. There's always going to be a guy who's going to write another book about who killed Kennedy and why the Twin Towers came down and what the Taliban is all about, and so on. There's going to be another Hitler book, people. It's never going to end. And maybe some of these new books are going to be interesting and shed light on the subject that might be really worthwhile. Who knows? Anyway, all these people that you're listening to are good salespeople, or you wouldn't be watching them. And they are selling you something, okay? So be mindful of that and understand when a subject is something going on in current events is controversial and difficult. It may require you to put some extra time in looking for some more obscure professional or expert or whatever sources of information and learning a few things just to help you make sense of it on your own, so that later, if your guy, your YouTube intellectual influencer is the man, you have your own argument. You can say, well, Bullion T, he's right and you're 1,000% wrong because, and you can list your references, you can list your sources, you can make your arguments, and you can persuade me that I'm insane for thinking that so-and-so isn't totally right about everything, even though he communicates well, and he's really smart, and he's nuanced and careful, and all this kind of stuff. It feels real good. Any entertainer can do that. It's like the Malcolm Gladwell book where he was talking about friends. They're really good at pretending to be real and truthful. But real people aren't like that. So Amanda Knox seemed strange to the police in Italy. Nobody acts like that if they're innocent. But she was innocent, Not everybody acts like the cast of Friends all the time, right? So you can be earnest, sincere, caring, truthful, and still get things wrong. And this pandemic is complicated, so you have to look at all kinds of things. And if you don't know how to read an abstract or a science paper or whatever, you can learn. There are sources out there. So people want answers. They don't want to be told that they might have to learn something. That's difficult. It's no fun. Nobody does research. We just look at information. We say, that makes sense to me. I'm going to adopt that. And then we parrot it out there into the world. That's normal. I'm not ashamed of it. You shouldn't be ashamed of it. But if we want to learn how to read a science paper or understand what a p-value is or a little bit of statistics or whatever, it's all there for us to learn. And then when we discuss our superstar influencer, we can say in the comments exactly why we think he or she is correct and you're crazy. And I didn't, my opinion isn't, I can't come on here and say this, that, or the other thing because I don't know either. And I know that in 2 months from now, my opinion will have evolved. So that's not my thing. I want to be a little bit entertaining, and I want to think things through and see if there are any nice people out there to have a conversation with. That's it. I'm bored. I'm a retiree. What are you going to do? I'm a privileged white American male. Whatever. Anyway, thanks for listening to that. I hope you liked the ride and talk. I talked about a lot of different things. I'm not trying to tell you what's right or wrong. I'm not trying to shoot down your superstar. I'm just saying there's lots of good music out there that you might not have heard yet. Don't turn your nose up to it until you've listened. All right. Thank you very much. Take good care. Bullion T. Out.